Welcome to the 3Haunted podcast, where we bring you all things horror, supernatural, folklore, mythology, and all things that go bump in the night.
What's up, everybody? This is your co-host, Ashley Lunar Goddess, Gorilla Girl filmmaker and horror-loving cinephile. I'm just your average podcast-producing badass.
And I'm John Thomas. If it's haunted, cursed, or just plain weird, I'm into it. From paranormal encounters to horror movie deep dives, urban legends, cryptids, count me in.
I'm BJ Sewura, an aspiring paranormal musician who plays live for the dead because the living just doesn't want to hear me.
What's up, ghouls, gals, and all of our Stephen King lovers out there? In today's episode, we'll be entering a place where the walls remember, the shadows murmur, and there are doors that should remain closed. That's right, we're checking into the Overlook Hotel. Joining us into this descent into madness are returning special guests, Amber Carr, and Courage himself, Marty Grabstein. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Good to be here. Thank you for having us back.
Thank you, my dear. So happy to be here.
Yay! We're happy to be here. I'm so passionate about this topic, so I'm really excited.
Me too. So this is great. And I really enjoyed watching it for the first time, actually, 2 weeks ago, the miniseries.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had never watched a miniseries.
Right.
Me either.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know a miniseries existed until Amber told me.
Oh, I did know. Actually, Ashley, it's so funny how neuroticness does kick in when it comes to when you're a horror fan and you're a fan of popular culture. Sometimes neurosis kicks in, and I somehow was afraid to watch it because I was afraid it was going to be worse than the movie. So I didn't watch it for that reason. How ridiculous is that?
No, I think that's completely valid because there are TV series out there right now that I will not watch because of that same idea where it's just like whatever I thought of the movie, whether I liked it or I was like, okay on it. I feel like oftentimes TV series don't tend to land as well. So when they do bring a TV series out based on something especially iconic like The Shining or anything along that lines, it's like, I'm going to avoid it.
I will say, though, Welcome to Derry is amazing. And I feel kind of the opposite. I didn't really like the new It movies, but I did really like Welcome to Derry. So
what is wrong
Get out of here,
with
BJ.
you?
Get out of
It
here.
chapter one is phenomenal.
Done.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. I actually enjoyed chapter one better than the original
Yes.
It movies.
I love
Absolutely.
the original
Welcome to
miniseries.
Derry.
I haven't watched Welcome to
That
Derry.
too.
What is Welcome
Yep.
to Derry?
So,
Derry.
Welcome to Derry is a TV series that is currently releasing. So they're doing it like segments at a time. It's not like a full series release. They're releasing episodes over time.
Oh, wow.
Like they used to
Like the
do
old
on
days.
TV. Yeah. And it's centered around the story of Pennywise and like I think it's more of like a prequel, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it takes place before the movies, like 28 years or whatever it was before the movies. And they're gonna keep going backwards. So they have like 2 more seasons planned. So they're gonna go further and further. Yeah.
It is good. Very good.
And it's done. This first season is done.
Right. Last
So
episode aired Sunday, right?
9 or 8 episodes. Yeah, I became an It fan because of it, to be honest with you.
You were not an It fan before.
Not really.
Yeah, you're
I
fired.
know it's weird, right? I am fired, and I'm sorry to join the party.
I
know.
don't think it's weird because I think of IPs out there in the horror world that I just absolutely cannot get on board with, like Chucky, Child's Play.
Stranger Things.
It's not my universe. And so I just don't I don't think it's bad. I think it definitely has its fan base for a reason. It's just not what I'm drawn to. So I get it.
Right.
I did enjoy the Chucky series actually, better than the movies, but that's not Stephen King, so we're
But
good.
Welcome to Derry does connect with The Shining,
It does.
and that is that,
And a
yeah,
bunch of
and that
other
is something.
things, right?
Yes, and so that's the connection there, and I'm excited for it, and hopefully they connect them somehow. I know they can, so
Yeah. I will say about the Shining miniseries though, Stephen King wanted to do it because he didn't like Kubrick's version of the movie or Jack Nicholson, and he was pissed that they didn't film it as the actual Stanley, so that's why he went back to do it.
I love that they film it at the Stanley so much.
I do too. I love the Stanley so much.
It's interesting. Two things you just said. Number one, he's not only the the Stanley thing. It's so complicated, the whole problem with The Shining, because as a movie, it's a borderline masterpiece of visual realities, a visual filmmaking. One of the great filmmakers of all time made it. And it was amazing what he did. And somehow the finished product had none of the compassion, none of the caring about any of the characters at all. There's not one character in that movie that you actually care about, really. Even the kid,
Yes.
because he sucked. But that's a separate issue.
100% agree
It's
with that.
No, I think you're right. I think that what he did with The Shining, the movie, what Kubrick did with that was try and create more of like a Michael Myers slasher kind of horror with some supernatural elements, right? But you really don't get much character. You don't get much character backstory other than we know Jack is an alcoholic and he doesn't care about his family. He's a jackass. But um, ultimately, you really don't get character development. You just see Jack go from being an uncaring asshole to a psychotic asshole.
That's right.
Exactly. And the chemistry, there's no chemistry in the miniseries. It's just, he loves his family.
He does.
And that's why it's scarier when he turns.
And where did we begin? We already begun.
Okay, so let's just like jump into the hard question of which did you prefer? Because they're the same story foundation, right? It's the same premise. You get the log line for both and it's the same. So in your opinion, it sounds like you did like the miniseries better than the movie in terms of character development, but you thought it was cinematically prettier in the movie. So just in general, what did you guys think in terms of preference?
I think the miniseries, like I said, I'm very passionate about the miniseries. I like that it's closer to the book. I love the interpretation of who Tony actually is. And
Yes.
I just love the chemistry and actually seeing him being a loving father. And even though he can't, like Jack Nicholson can disfigure his face enough that you're scared of him. But also when Steven Weber has blood dripping down his face, he's one of the most scary villains I've ever seen in my life. Like, but you can tell he's fighting so hard, and like you get to see more of the struggle. Because when I rewatched the movie, I was like, dang, first of all, this is really hard to get through. And I'm not really seeing any struggle or love. I think he like kisses her once in the movie, but then they're so like loving in the miniseries. So I, like you said, Marty, I get attached to
Like to
them.
do Monet, it's hard.
Oh, she's gorgeous. And I think Steven's gorgeous. But yeah, I thought they were more age appropriate, like to the characters in the book. And it's just the chemistry I thought was just, and you can't beat the Stanley. That atmosphere, like, oh.
Beautiful Stanley.
So, as to the Stanley, just to, I'll go back to where I loved it without a doubt. With no doubt, the miniseries was far better as an overall piece of work. Even if I didn't fall in love with The Shining, I fell in love with The Shining and Stephen King. That's the first Stephen King I ever read, was The Shining in 1982, pretty much soon after it was released, because I'm an old motherfucker. See, we are able to curse, and I didn't want Nazi to one up me. So I figured I throw that in. You can have the neck for the Marty Grabstein. Oh my God. Anyway,
I
but
love it.
but anyway, so I just, it was so kind of touching. I was had tears in my eyes at the end of the movie because it was so faithful to the book, and the fact that Stephen King wrote the teleplay and wrote it and produced it, and I'm sure he was in on the casting and everything. He took this and he made it into the hedge animals, which were pretty much ignored in the movie. That I even understood why they were ignored, because they said it's a kind of hard thing to actually create. Uh, what year was the movie made?
The movie or the miniseries?
The movie,
It was 1980.
right, 1980. So, and the miniseries was late
1997.
1990, 17 years of technology later. So I'm sure what they did with the hedge animals in the miniseries was a function of the improvements in technology, because I don't think they might have been able to pull it off in 1980. So getting rid of the hedge animals, I didn't even bother me too much, because it's all almost an abstract thing, because you think, is it happening in the head? Are they imagining this? Is the spirits happening, creating this illusion that the hatch animals are actually moving, or is it actually happening in real time? We don't, in the book, they don't deliberately, they don't, make that clear, but deliberately not making it clear, uh, leaving a little bit of mystery, which Stephen King loved to do, um but I just, the love that permeated the whole thing, the love that he had for his wife, that he had for his son, he had for his family, and was willing to sacrifice his life to make sure they were safe. There was nothing of that in the. I could go on and on and on, but I should let other people talk. The last thing, we come back to this. This is an unusual thing, because I've been speechifying this idea for a long time, why I hated The Shining, the movie. So, because of my love for The Shining, the book. So, the fact that I got this wonderful vindication somehow so many years later. I'm 71 years old. I read The Shining when I was like 40, right? Something like that. And the fact that, that it was so much like the book without sacrificing anything filmic. But sometimes you run the risk, many. There's a discussion, that's a philosophy, right? That holds that you have to be careful when you take a piece of literature and translate it into the film medium, because it's a visual medium, and you only have 2 or 3 hours to do a lot of this stuff that the book is able to luxuriate in. So Stephen King smartly, the miniseries, 4.5 hours, 4.5 hour movie essentially, struck a nice compromise for himself. And he got everything that was important in the book into that movie, into the miniseries. I'm so happy about it.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of the film versus the miniseries compared to the book. I have never been a fan of the film, and I think we've talked about that before in the season, that I don't like The Shining, the film, because it is the protagonist, the person spiraling into a madness, is such an unlikable character that you don't care about his demise. You don't care if the hotel gets him. And really, it's like, I hope his family gets out, but even then, you don't know much about them and about Danny's gift, and they don't do a really good job of explaining why the hotel is kind of presenting itself to Danny, right? It's just like, oh, they're scaring a child. Like, great. But then in the miniseries, they actually give you more, right? You understand why they're scaring Danny, why they're going after Danny, because it's his gift they want. It's him that they can do more, or the management can do more through, if they can get a hold of Danny. And through the fear is how they're trying to possess and collect him. And I like that in the miniseries, they actually give you more of that. You understand more of that, oh, it's actually him that they want, not Jack. But through Jack is how they eventually have to, because Danny's fighting back so hard. They can't access his mind anymore. And so they have to get him through Jack. Because he even says that at the end. They don't even want you, Dad. They want me. And
That's
like,
right.
Jack
Yeah.
gets offended. He's like, I can't
Yeah.
believe, how dare you say that? And
He's
it's
like,
just,
what?
but, his ego gets him for a moment, but when he's in the boiler room and Danny is connected to him telepathically, he finally gets it, that they're always going to try and go after Danny. And he's like, go, Danny, get out. It's you they want. And he sacrifices himself. What I love about that is that it's what they did in the Shining movie is exactly opposite of what the intention of the ending was in the book and in the miniseries. And I think it really negates everything that Stephen had written, for the reason that Jack, in the miniseries and book, by sacrificing himself, he's allowed to die as himself. So the hotel's not going to keep him. He's not going to be a collected ghost. He's going to be free to move on, pass on, be whatever it is he's going to be outside of that. Whereas we see in the movie what happens to Jack. He dies possessed in the maze, in the little hedge maze, and he's a part of the hotel. We see it at the end in the photo. He's standing there in the party, and
You were always the caretaker.
you are always the caretaker. And so I do love that we're brought back to our main character in the miniseries, Jack. He, even though they're after Danny, Jack is our main character. He is endearing enough and redeemable enough that we do care when he's hitting these lulls of, oh gosh, he's gonna drink, oh gosh, he's being awful to Danny, and he's caring enough as a dad that you do want to cry, right? At the end, you do want to cry when it's like, oh gosh, he's sacrificing himself. He's fighting that possession in the living room thing. And he's like, Danny, run. And Danny won't run. And you're like, Danny, listen to your dad. So I do love that the miniseries stayed true to the book in that aspect, that Jack could die as himself so that he was not collected by the hotel. And as much as it was not in the book, I like, as cheesy as it was, that we see Danny see his dad when he's graduating,
That
and
part
his
makes me
dad
cry
does the
every time.
kiss, and it's like, oh gosh.
That's what I've been missing.
That's
And
what I've been
Tony,
missing.
And Tony.
Tony was the
Danny.
older Jack, the older Danny, right?
Tony was the future self of
Right.
Danny, which makes you wonder this whole time. It's like the whole time loop. It reminds me of Looper, like which came first, because the adult knows about what's happening and what's coming to prevent the demise. But then it's like, wait, But how? That means you already lived it. So who helped you that time? And how did you I don't know. My head breaks when we talk about time loops.
But let me ask you about that. So clearly, that was not in the book.
That was total creative, like alteration.
So Stephen King just had a brainstorm and says, "Fuck it, I'm going to do this." How cool is
I
that?
love it.
And he was just, he never, the fact that as a writer, he's always willing to humble about his work and always thinking you can improve things. You don't have to say married to, you can make improvements. We always doing rewrites and always the fact that he would what he did with the stand, the unexpurgated version of it. He was always willing to do that, right? So the fact that he came up with that is a reflection of what a wonderful he is, the supreme storyteller of our in my life. So supreme, and he calls himself a storyteller. He doesn't call him. He's the writer, but he thinks about the main thing in Dance Macabre and On Writing, both of his nonfictions, about both of which dealt with some or all of his writing sensibilities. It was story is the main thing for him. Story, and of course character, but it's the story is the main thing. Even and that he is nobody better, in my opinion, at creating imaginative stories than him.
Well, and I think any creative that's been in the industry, especially as a writer, when you approach it as a writer, whether it's novels or screenwriting or anything in between, it's really hard to expand your story when you're set on your story. So his ability to take a fresh look at his story and say, let me adapt this, let me add this, let me get a little creative with that, I really like, because it's not hurting the original, right? The book is still out there. That's still the ultimate source material. But now it's like, oh, I've got another playground I can play with. Let me see how this translates into a mini series. And it might be something that someone else guided him into, right? Like, this is what people like to see, this cute little wrapped up in a bow epilogue that we can put in for people that are going to watch this in a mini series, because that's what they did. You end with feel good moments. Uh, but I loved watching this. I'm so glad, Amber, that you even introduced this idea, because I can tell you I probably would have never watched this.
I'm so glad.
Me too, Amber. Me too.
I'm so glad. John and BJ, what did you think? Had you seen it?
I know we're like going on.
I know. I was like trying.
John's
Go
like,
ahead,
shut
John.
the
You go
fuck up,
first, man.
Ashley.
Had you seen it before,
I,
or did you just watch it recently?
I've seen it before. I bought it way back when I was visiting Estes one day, and I went to Sergeant Pepper's and bought the DVD there. So I was like, "Oh, sweet!" So yeah, I did enjoy the miniseries a lot better because of the book, and because I have such a love for the Stanley Hotel, and I was just so happy that it was actually filmed there. And I know that the fire hose scene in the miniseries was actually
Yeah.
Stephen King's nightmare that he had while he was staying at the Stanley. So he wrote it
Really?
in. He wrote it in the book, and of course the movie didn't do it. But he was like, "No, I'm putting that in the miniseries." So
That's
I thought that
awesome.
was really cool.
What didn't he do? What didn't the fire hose scene have
They
in
didn't
the?
really even do it in the movie. I don't think, did they?
I don't think so.
Not at all. I think it was just
What do you
omitted.
mean?
Like they
I,
didn't.
I, oh,
Well, because he
oh,
had
the
a nightmare
miniseries.
with the fire hose, kind of like a snake, and so he wrote that in the book, and it was in the miniseries.
Oh,
How it
I
was like,
got it
yeah,
confused. I became confused when you said that. I got it wrong. I would love the fire hose thing, and I
gotcha, yeah.
was happy. I thought everything about it was what the book entailed. Uh,
Exactly. What about you, BJ?
I really liked that Halloran survived.
Yes, I was just
Like,
about to
I
ask you
was
guys,
Yeah.
the fake
What the
Halloran, how did we feel?
I was like, because I hadn't watched the TV series, and then watching it for the first time, like he walks in the door, he's still cold from outside, and he gets hit right away. I was like, no, like not
I thought what's
again.
so stupid.
You know what? That is a screenwriting 101 thing that people have formalized and used. Formalized, is that even a word? That have used that formula for so long that at some point you start to be able to completely pin the beats of movies because they're using the same formula that all these screenwriters get taught. And that's halfway through your movie or close to like the climax, you kill your safe character. So then your hero has to be forced into a higher, stronger crisis and arc journey. So I'm assuming I knew that was coming because I'm like, they're probably going to follow the same formula because it's mainstream movie. However, I love Steven didn't do that in his book and that he kept him alive in the series.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, he came all the way from Florida. Like he couldn't get his flight. Like it was a process. Like and the metaphysical, right? That whole aspect of it was developed more. That was much more part of it, and I love that scene with him and Danny. Like, and he breaks the tail light like just by thinking like too hard. He's just shouting his, like it was fun. It was cool. It wasn't just about the hotel. It was giving the hotel a reason to want Danny, but also just to show that there's more than just the hotel. There's these people that have these gifts this and they recognize it within each other, and it's great. And yeah, just that whole thing it just gave it more of an impact as an opposition to the hotel, and it had nothing to do with the dad, and that was another thing that just like it's just something that a TV series can has more time to let breathe, that the movie just didn't. I mean, it did, but not to an extent where you're like, maybe this is important for this and this reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm.
Adds to the Stanley, by the way. So it's interesting. As I see it, the movies, the hotel in the movie looked like otherworldly, gorgeous, and almost hard to even explain how beautiful it looked. And the Stanley also looked quite lovely, but it had an antique feeling. It had hints that it was old. It had the feeling of old but beautiful. You got the sense that it was at one time perhaps hugely opulent in it, but it was older looking. It was the right period of time that it representing when all these people were starting to get sucked into the life of the house. So I love that Stanley had that going on. Still quite lovely, but in a more quaint, lovely sort of way. You agree?
I agree. I mean, and the Stanley was built in the 1900s, so I mean, it's old as shit already as it is. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Jack's obsession with like the history of the hotel too, and how that became his like it really was the hotel kind of devouring him.
Yeah. And instead of all work and no play make Jack a dull boy, and his psychosis was something insane, like totally insane, rather than he was interested in something that was consuming him. It had logic attached to it. So when you play somebody who's going insane, it's good to make sure that you're also portraying something that seemed to be a desire to be normal, to be okay somehow, and somehow connecting with those elements, the newspaper clippings and all of that, made that he was caring about the hotel. You were seeing that. All work and no play make Jack a dull boy, which is just a shock value. That's all it was in there. Kubrick, there's something he's one of my favorite movie makers, but he's was always seemingly lacking in something, some element of compassion, or something is off with him when it came to some of these great movies, with the exception of Paths of Glory, somehow. But I digress.
I was thinking about what we were just talking about in terms of The Shining and how the miniseries really brought us back into the focus of Danny's gift. And this is why the hotel is even after them. Because in the book, that's what it's about. It's always been about Danny's gift, and management is wanting to harness that gift. For what? I don't know. But it seems like the more they can tap into his gift, and we see that at the end of the mini series, the more they can access his gift, the more tangible they can become, the more effect they have on physical reality. And so what that looks like when management takes over, who knows? But it does make me wonder then, because Jack being possessed to kill his family so then they can take Danny, it makes you kind of then go backwards and say, well, then why the other families? Why the previous caretaker doing that and the one before that? Did they perhaps have a shining figure? And if so, does the hotel itself draw in like a magnet shining figures to try and take over? And because even, or even Halloran himself is a shining who is working at the hotel, but they haven't seemed to, but granted, he's there during busy season, but it doesn't appear like the hotel's tried to take him on. And he's got a pretty strong power to be able to connect with
It
this
does.
child. So it's like, why
That's
then? We
interesting.
understand the murder or the possession of Jack and the attempt to murder his family because they want Danny, but then it makes you think about the previous murders. And it's like,
Yeah.
was there a shining individual there the hotel was attempting to get? But they were successful. So then all these things, right? Like, why before? Why the murders then?
Brilliant. Brilliant, actually. And also, do you
I
think
don't
they
know.
went after Danny because he was so young and so
He's the
strong,
strongest.
they would use him longer, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Maybe the previous ones did have levels of shining individuals and it just only lasts so long. But someone as strong as Danny.
And Dick is strong, but he's older, so they won't be able to use him as long.
Uh, that's a great subject for.
Well,
So okay.
I was thinking about it because it's like, man, I do wonder, does the hotel draw in shining individuals?
I would say 100% yes.
I don't know. And I'll tell you why I'm not sure,
Mhm.
but it's a great idea because knowing Stephen King, usually when these stories happen, whatever it is, a couple of things. Number one, the idea that somehow this is what we're seeing is never quite happened before, even if elements of it have happened before, because we never have seen a shining figure, like you say, as powerful as Danny Torrance. So he likes creating this iconic, like this. Other people have the shining, but he has it crazy like, so much so that Halloran said, "Oh my God, stop! Because you're gonna, my head is gonna explode." He was in fucking Florida. He's going like this. So I think the power of Danny, much like the power of the Firestarter, the little girl in Firestarter, who also has a very powerful, more powerful in this, whatever they call it. I forgot what they call it, the pyro mania, whatever it is. The like they because when you say yes, you set the tone. Maybe the house, the hotel did take these people anyway, not needing a shining character to take people who are weak but have something to offer. And a haunted hotel doesn't necessarily need a shining figure to actually scoop up the spirit, right? Scooping up a spirit is something that happens all the time with
Yeah,
the
they're
haunted
hungry. They
houses,
gotta eat.
But
right?
it seems like, based on what was said in the miniseries and what I can remember from the book, film aside, because film didn't follow any of the rules, but
Right.
from what what it seems, and this is why I feel like, Danny's like, Halloran lied, but I don't think he did. Halloran understood the hotel as an echo of the history of the hotel, the echoes of the bad things that had happened, the echo of the gangsters and the echoes of the murders.
Right.
That he's like, it's just pictures. You're just seeing pictures. So he's talking about like echoes of that versus actual presences. Now, what Danny realizes is that by him being in the hotel specifically because of his level of power, the hotel goes from being an echo to being an actual physical manifestation and presence. So with that said, though, we do already know that previously a caretaker had killed and then, killed his family, then killed himself. So why wasn't it an echo then?
Mm.
Do you see what I'm saying? I kind of wonder when the hotel is able to take over and cause, or not cause, but kind of manifest that murderous. Is that then only because you have an individual there that is gifted, that it can then become that physical manifestation? And outside of that, it is an echo.
So, like, let's, for the sake of argument, take Grady, right?
Yeah.
Take Grady. But you're talking about him. So
Yeah.
Grady had a family, right?
Hmm. And he
And
murdered them.
he murdered them, right? And he became a part of the house, right? And we don't also know what happened to the people he murdered. Where were they in the scheme of things? Actually, what did happen to his family? And if
You mean like in
Jack,
terms of ghosts or spirits?
right, you only get Grady, where is his family? And if Jack murders Rebecca, Wendy, and
Oh no.
Wendy and Danny, if he kills both of them, are they gonna be like you said that they want Danny? So it's Rebecca. I keep saying Rebecca. Uh,
Wendy.
is
She
she
just doesn't look like a Wendy.
No,
doesn't
no,
actually.
she's Rebecca.
She's
She's
Rebecca.
Rebecca. But is she expendable? But Danny is not.
I mean, yeah.
And what would happen to Jack after he killed his family? He probably killed himself too.
Honestly, I think, and this is just based on everything we've kind of consumed with from book to miniseries, even to the inclusion of the movie, is that when you give in to the maliciousness of the hotel, whether it be through possession via, and like when I say give in to the maliciousness, when you give in to the malevolent energy of the hotel, I think you are then absorbed by the hotel because you see all the people that are there are figures who have been part of nefarious activity. Even the lady in the bathtub, I
With the back.
believe she killed herself, didn't she? And so,
Yes, with the straight razor.
which makes you wonder, did the hotel influence that? And so I think that for me, when you are absorbed by the hotel and kept as a presence to push and increase that malevolence along, it's because you allowed your energy to be fully consumed and therefore the possession. So for people like the family and Rebecca Wendy, um, I think that their energy would in some way be like, okay, fed on temporarily by the hotel, but their soul is intact, if you will. So they still aren't going to be able to be kept by management. They would go on, which is why I think it was so important then that Jack sacrificed himself as himself, because then the hotel couldn't have him. It couldn't have him, and it couldn't have Danny.
Great.
Right. Couldn't manipulate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
True. That's true. But wouldn't you say that the way you described it just now, essentially the swallowing up of these souls who are giving over to the malevolence of the hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing that, you don't mean to, but you surrender.
You've
Not
sold your soul.
so. So if that's the case, we don't need a shining. The house doesn't need a shining figure, though.
It does though, because these are just regular souls that are kind of becoming a part of the echo. But to actually go from being like on one side of the veil and an echo just kind of playing out repeatedly at that party in order to become something that's fully engaging and actively affecting the world around it, which is what I assume this is. The idea is that management is probably some kind of like demonic figure.
Mm.
So then it would need something much stronger than these little echoes to be able to have a full impact, because at this point it can only impact the Overlook, and to an extent it's just an echo, right, until it gets something stronger, and then it can start physically manifesting. We see that at the end because Grady's trying to turn the boiler back
Right.
around, and it can't, and so they
can't.
start scaring Danny again and getting into his head, and then he's able to physically start turning it.
Exactly.
It gets strong enough to impact
Yes.
that, and that's when his dad's like, no, Danny, don't let it take over.
Exactly. Yes.
I think you got it just now. It clicked for me just now.
And one thing that Marty said that got me thinking about Firestarter, not just Firestarter, but I think that another kid who could have been introduced into this and would have made the third movie a whole lot more interesting for me is Poltergeist 3, Carol Ann. Maybe she's that person as well. She's absolutely a shining. She has that shine, right?
Sure.
Wouldn't that be crazy? Like she stayed at the Stanley, right? Like I feel like that would have been fun too, right? Crossover. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
The Reverend is upper management.
I'm here for it.
They're here.
Carol Ann? No.
Carol Ann.
Carol Ann.
BJ, sing the song.
Do it.
What is
No, he can't do it.
God is in his holy temple. Earthly thoughts be silent now.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Enjoy. You're welcome.
Thanks, BJ.
But what we do know is it's a murderous hotel.
It is.
Now, Marty, you did bring up the topiaries, and I loved the miniseries, but the topiaries were the hardest part for me. That old school animation graphics on the topiaries, I'm like, oh, you could have just left them there. The snow's on there, the snow's not on there. They're closer and to hear the noises. But the actual like animation of the movie, and I'm like, no.
Animation, yeah, but just the the little stopping, like they're closer. That's scarier than the animation.
Exactly. Red light, green light.
Up until then was wonderful. The filmmaking, the cutaways and coming back, and the wonderful. But that was a little bit.
Which wasn't their fault. It was just the CGI.
Still totally forgivable because considering when it was released and also just how strong the movie was, or the miniseries. But
Question for you all. What is your weapon of choice between the jacks? Do you think it's scarier to be chased by an axe, or do you think it's scarier to be chased by a croquet mallet? Personally, I think the croquet mallet would be worse because it would take longer.
Denver croquet.
The axe would put you out
Quicker,
immediately.
probably.
Right. The
Oof.
croquet mallet, the torturers, and we saw the way she was limping.
And when he hits her in the stomach, I feel that every time. I'm just like,
There was a few times he hit her with that thing that I was like,
Yes.
oh.
Like, which
Well, I
one is gonna
felt
break
that.
the bone and like cause a
she
like?
was limping. She was limping so severely. So that was also the croquet thing, bringing this upbeat sort of thing, a gigantic croquet mallet, big balls, so to speak. So able to play this game, and definitely. But um, I love the croquet and the banging of it on the wall. Bang, boom. You can do that with an axe quite the same way, you know. So the banging of the mallet, and it's interesting because we talked about this, you and I, Ashley, about the in the book what happens when uh the boiler is starting to, you know, get up there. We knew, and he knew, somehow he knew that it was happening. He knew that the boiler was happening somehow in the book, and he like started to go to Danny to hit him in the mallet, and he became himself again. Stop, Danny. Go. Go run before it's too late. And Danny didn't run around. He screamed at him to run, and he did run, and he started to become the scary guy again. And he basically took the croquet mallet and beat his own head into a pulp, but the mallet hitting his own head over and over again. The cracking his skull open and everything, right? So that's the way it happened in the book, and I didn't like the fucking, you know, running around the maze and freezing in the maze and all of that shit. But this was better to me filmically, a better idea, because he got that scene with Danny where he clearly, as Amber says, was struggling, right? We got that he was dad, he was not dad, you know, and then you should run. He did do that, but then he ran to get the boiler, to take care of the boiler, right? Wasn't that what happened in the miniseries?
Yeah, so Danny tells them you and what is the guy's name? Forgot that the boiler forgot to turn over the boiler, and so
Right.
it's gonna explode. And
Almond.
he's like,
No.
yeah, no, it was it started with a D. It's not Dick. Ha.
Right.
Um, oh gosh, what is that character's name?
oh,
It's Do Winter.
I'm looking it up.
Duke of Earl.
do,
I'm
do, do,
kidding.
do,
do. Oh my gosh.
do.
Daryl. I'm just kidding.
Oh
Son,
man. Bellinger.
It should be Daryl.
Daryl.
Pete
Fucking
Watson.
Daryl. No.
Classic Daryl.
Sam Raimi was in it. I didn't even realize
Wait.
As who?
Daryl.
that. I don't know. It says he was in it though.
Oh, the guy that was.
Well, while you're looking that up, I think the mallet would be my weapon of choice, just because I like torture. And can you imagine
You're a
trying to hit
terrible
yourself?
person, John.
I am. Can you imagine trying to hit yourself over the head with an axe multiple times? It doesn't work.
Right. But the fact that
It doesn't work.
I think one and done, you're
Yeah,
good. So
that's a word. You can one or two times, and then you're done.
yeah,
I like that you think you could get a second time.
right. I mean, I don't even think I could do one. Like, yeah, I just bounce off probably.
Probably not.
I have to agree with
Daryl's
John as
fault.
well. The mallet. I mean, it has a backstory, right? Like from the very beginning of the series, like they tell the story about it and how it's an uplifting thing. Oh, it's a new thing. This is big, big croquet. It's fun. And then just it gave me, and I hate mentioning this because I hated the like. Oh, so The Walking Dead, right? Like
Yeah.
when I stopped watching The Walking Dead was when Glenn got smacked in the head.
Was
Taking it in the dome by a bat, right? And
Yeah.
a mallet, just something hard. And also we talked about what was that, the werewolf movie where he uses the bat? What was that?
Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet, where a werewolf uses a bat to kill people. Like there's something about using a blunt object to hit people
Yes,
that's just
Because it
unnerving.
takes more to take them out. Like it's
that's
Yes.
right.
It's
Yes.
Stephen
more
King loves
painful.
all of them.
It's
more
fun
violent.
to torture. Yeah.
So
John, stop it.
it was Derwent.
He's scaring
So
me.
it was Danny tells Jack that Derwent and Jack forgot about the boiler, so it's going to explode. So then Jack runs down to stop the boiler because he's still in his possessed state. Derwent,
I
the
like
guy
Daryl
who
better.
created the hotel. Derwent Duke something. Derwent. So I agree with all of you about, in terms of an actual weapon, the mallet is scarier. It's more visceral. It's blunt, so it takes more. And like we feel the pain, right? When she gets hit in the stomach with that, it's like, oh, you felt that. It was pretty intense. However, in terms of entertainment and cinematic quality, there is something that I will give credit to for the movie. And that
Yes.
is, there is something much more compelling to see Jack Nicholson bust through the door with an axe, stick his face in, and say, "Here's Johnny." It's totally unraveled. It's completely just off the wall and scary and creepy.
Yeah.
And she's like on the side. So you see her kind of huddled. And there's just something very iconic and beautifully done in that scene that just did not land in the miniseries. And I will say that because when he comes through with the mallet and he's like, boo, like there's nothing there to be scared of. I'm sorry.
Right.
It just did not work in terms of fear factor for me.
When that happened, I wondered if that was Stephen King's answer to "Here's Johnny."
Boo.
And that he wanted to take it way down when you think it's going to be a grand guignol. How do you pronounce it? Grand guignol?
Oh, Grand Guignol,
Guignol.
I think.
You think you're going to get that, you're going to get boo. So, in a way, it was deliberately low key,
Yeah.
offset. Stephen King answered to that. But
I would have just loved if he didn't say anything. If he
Yeah.
just busted through the door and saw her and kept going. But like this whole boo.
Or like
It
ta-
didn't
take
work.
take a bite out of the door, like just do something crazy, like
Might as well have just said Ooga Booga,
Rebecca.
you know?
Because then he also said something like, "Here comes Papa" or something. And I'm like, okay, just stop.
I mean,
Like,
and Weber's
or Papa
dad
Bear,
and-
I don't remember. Yeah, right, here's Daddy. Like I would have at least settled for "Here's Daddy," but like
yeah,
Oh no.
that's a different
I-
movie.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
Changes, right? There were changes and iconic moments in the movie versus the mini series. And one of the big things, obviously the mallet versus the axe going through the door. The other thing that I also noticed that was very, very, I liked it, but it was very different, was the representation of the spirits, right? In the mini series, you can tell that they're decaying. There's makeup. There's a lot more of that versus they just look like regular people and they're just ghosts talking to people. And I don't know what did you guys feel about, and obviously in Jack too, seeing his face as a ghost, as a monster, versus just Jack Nicholson, right? Like they used makeup a lot more in the miniseries
I
to
think
to prove a
right.
point, right?
I think Kubrick got it right for that particular thing to say something good about the movie. Ashley did just now, so I'm going to say something good about it as well. And I do believe that the way the party scene was happening with the people looked just like they normal people, because they are in that sense normal. But the fact that all of that decaying stuff, I think I found slightly distracting. Again, it didn't kill me because it's still pretty gripping no matter what. But I believe Cupid's thing and a beautiful scene in the bathroom, for me, one of the great moments in the movie was him in the bathroom with Grady. And that for me was, we didn't get that. And overall, the whole thing, Grady himself, I wasn't even sure I liked the casting as much as the casting in the movie. So, in that respect, Kubrick got it right, in my opinion, for that whole thing. That scene in the ballroom, at the bar, in the bathroom, all of those things united to create some sort of beautiful reality. And in reality, it is decaying in real. The inside is decaying, and we got enough decay with the woman in the bathtub. We
Hmm.
got enough decay with that. And as to that, thought they did it better in the movie as well. The woman in the bathtub. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they start with did they didn't they start of her being really beautiful in the bathtub, fetching,
Hmm.
naked, all of that, and then when she started kissing him, she became decayed. He was kissing this decayed, but I that part, I'm glad they didn't go in that direction, implying that the creature actually was kissing Danny, was horrifyingly more horrible, that we didn't get to see it. So in that respect, was better in the miniseries. But you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Hmm.
I actually
Yeah.
like the way they did it in the miniseries better because every character that's no longer alive that you initially see, like in the party scene and when he is first interacting with Grady, they're all in their most human form, and I think that's to bring his guard down because it's like you said earlier, it's like this, is it real, is it not real, but they're so human looking that it's harmless. It's like, oh, you don't have to be on guard and protect yourself against us, we're just here. And I feel like the more the possession takes place is in correlation to what we're seeing in the makeup. Now we're seeing them gaunt, but versus them, I didn't translate it as decay. I actually translated that more as like a possession demonic look. They're gaunt. And when we see her reflection in the mirror in the ballroom, she doesn't look like she's a dead body. She looks like a monster. And the monster is trying to seduce him. He sees her reflection. In these moments, he's internally checking himself. He's drunk and having a good old time and they look normal, and then she goes to, like, she's seducing him, and then he pauses and looks in the mirror, sees her as the monster. So to me that's him reconnecting with his humanity for just a moment.
Like Jacob's ladder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so for me, when I see them more as their creature selves, because at some point they look full demonic, like when Wendy sees them at the hotel counter, she sees, what is his name again? I can never get it right. Duke of Earl de Winter, de
Daryl.
Santer, did something.
Daryl.
Derringer,
True.
de Winter, did something.
Dingo.
Anyway,
Everyone.
the gangster, the
Yeah, there you
gangster
go.
who created the
Oh,
hotel. When she sees him and Grady at the hotel counter, at some point they do look demonic, just full on demonic. And at some point we get elements of that with Jack, right? Because he's fully getting possessed himself with the blood all over his face and he's starting to look a lot like them. So I saw it less as like a decay and more as the monster's mask is slipping. Kind of like Danny says, you're just another Halloween mask. And that's how I see it. He's seeing the human faces. And so it's like, harmless, you're safe, all is well, let us in. But the more that they're being let in, we see the actual monster because ultimately they're not individuals. They are not autonomous. They have all been absorbed into the entity that is management.
yes.
I agree with both of you. I know Marty had mentioned the bathroom scene, and that gave me PTSD because of all the red. And I used to work at Target, so like that's exactly what it reminded me of. I'm like, I can't even with this bathroom. So random dumb fact, but yeah, yeah.
And also, you have to consider, I mean, it's also the format. The movie, like with the big bathroom scene, which was very famous, you could get away with like nudity and such. But when you're putting something on primetime television, you can't do that. So it's like,
You mean the bathtub scene?
yeah, the bathtub scene. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes.
I actually
What?
like that they didn't, and I'm not prude. I mean, I'm not prude, but I like that because I feel like the nudity and the seduction of Jack through like because they're trying to exploit his vulnerabilities, right? Through
Right.
alcohol and this idea that like here's a naked woman, come and get her. That's
Yeah,
part of the possession, right? And so for me, it's like, that's a cop out. That's like an easy access point.
that's
I
true.
Yeah, I like that that's not the route they went in the miniseries. It was, hey, let me dance with you. Let me just be a little flirtatious, a little, let's get you drunk. Because they also exploit, which we kind of haven't gotten into yet, is the vulnerability of the fact that he is a writer. They use that as a weakness, as an access point to him, which is why, like you were saying, Marty, you love that he got obsessive about the history of the hotel. And Amber, you mentioned like it's so cool he was tapping into everything that was there. And it's like, that was their way of further digging into him
Yeah,
through
utilize
an avenue. Yeah, through the avenue of him being a writer. They used it
the
as a weakness.
logic of that. There was a logic attached to that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it makes sense. He's researching his new project, which is writing about the hotel.
Mhm.
Simple idea. He changed. He had one idea, he changed it to another idea. And how do you do that? You research it. He was researching the hotel history. So perfectly logical
Yeah.
idea.
It became his new obsession, and it just happened to be he's obsessed with a demonic hotel.
I basically
which
loved
which
and turned it against him.
Hmm.
which begs the question: when are we going to see this play? I feel like somebody could create that
Oh,
now, right?
that would
That
be
would be fun. I feel like that would be fun just to be able to see a shining play based on what actually what actually he made, and obviously there's hints of madness in it, right? I don't know.
Wait a second. Let's try to. I had a question about that. Before he ran out, he grabbed
He
his
took the play.
manuscript, right? So was that the manuscript? I don't know if he was even working on the play in the hotel. Wasn't that manuscript incomplete manuscript of the play he was working on? Wasn't that what that was?
I kind of thought he was
Any
working on
idea?
it some, and then the hotel distracted him.
True. Okay. but not that much.
No,
Not
he
the
didn't
whole
work on it
thick
tons.
thing, but so much of it might have been his original thing, right?
Mm.
What? Any ideas on that?
Well, because he got in a fight, right, with his wife. They were talking about, she's like, you aren't working on this, and he's like, no, like there's all these things I'm working on, all of the history. Like, I need to figure out the history first,
Right.
and that
So
was the
he
whole
was. I
story.
don't.
But
Right. I don't think he was writing.
no, he was obsessed with finding out more. He got kind of romanticized into it all, and
Right.
he lost himself in it, and that's kind of where he's like, let's just set this aside and I'll just kind of just search on it myself, that's kind of where he disconnected, right? He was just like,
Right.
it's not about the play anymore, it's about me. I'm important. This gives me importance. This gives me something more than just a
Right.
play. And that
And
was part of it, right? He wanted to be somebody important, right? And that meant a lot to him, and the hotel knew that.
Danny is grabbing the last vestige of proof that his father was a writer. He wanted to preserve that bit, incomplete though it was. He's working on his play. He's going to be able to look at that and look and think about his dad and look, that's his writing. Why would he want to take a play that was about this hotel? He wouldn't care about that. He would care about the old manuscript, the only thing, uh, evidence that his dad was writing a play really was. Interesting. I think that's why Stephen King chose to make sure that, hey, he built that moment in.
Good point.
It's almost a healing too, because if you think about why his arm was broken and the incident they keep referring back to, it was he was messing with Jack's papers, his play. And so this idea that like it's almost like a full circle, but versus he was messing with the papers and they got all messed up and he got hurt, it's now my dad's gone, this is whole, and I'm taking it with me.
And remembering his dad how he was, because that had to
Mhm.
have been hard. Your dad coming
Yeah,
after you to murder you and like switching between states of mind.
it was really very touching moment. I was very touched when I saw he grabbing the play, the kid. By the way, talk about caring about these characters. Wendy was a kind of hero of the piece. She became a heroic figure and resistant, a woman who's physically strength wise inferior to the more strong male figure. She was she's going to take her son and she's going to rescue him. She's going to become the hero. Stephen King loves that with women. He loves building in heroic women figures. I love that about him. Um, that the fact that because really, Shelley Duvall, a very good actress who was tortured by Kubrick, by the way, in the shoot, but she was totally a victim. She would seem like everything in her interpretation of the character, way the character was interpreted by uh, Kubrick, she was just screaming. She was sniveling, kind of, yeah, and almost annoying.
Very
But
annoying.
The way she ran really drove me crazy in the movie.
Yeah.
We were making fun of that watching it the other day. I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't know if any of you have seen Schitt's Creek, but the guy
Yeah.
Bob, the way he runs, that's what it reminded me of. I'm
Oh,
like,
my
oh my god,
teenagers around.
yes, every time. I'm like, oh no.
That is brilliant. I love that comparison.
Well, and she's so grounding for the whole family, right? She kind of brings everybody back, right? Whenever things are going crazy, like even her, when they're having a conversation, she having a conversation with Jack, everything, she's trying to bring it back. She's like, we're still, we're still family, we're still in love. Like, here's the thing, but he just keeps fucking up, and she's she's it's tough. It's like just it because you just want to you root for her because she's just doing everything that she can in a situation that sucks. Like, they were set up for failure by just going there, and
Yes.
and she's just trying to just hold it all together, and oof.
I think Kubrick actually did a disservice to the character of Wendy because he did make her so frail and aloof. And throughout the entire thing, she was pretty frail and aloof. And just almost to the point of like, are you just completely oblivious to everything happening here? Whereas in the mini series, we have Rebecca De Mornay, who is like this powerhouse. At times, you're still wondering, like, why the hell are you still here? But in the scope of who she is as a wife, a mother, and just as a person, she's so much stronger. Like, she's confronting him at every step of the way in terms of their marriage, in terms of his drinking, and in terms of what this is doing to their family and how it could continue to impact their family. And she doesn't just cry about it. She comes up with solutions, right?
Yes.
She's like, we need to leave tomorrow. We need to take him to the doctor tomorrow. And even when everything starts happening where the supernatural is manifesting into actual physical reality, she's the first person to believe it. She's the one that says the hotel's trying to get him. We have to get him. The hotel's trying to, and she's the one who's yelling at the hotel, you can't have him. And there is this strength in her that I absolutely loved, because even though she's terrified, she's still facing off and yelling at the hotel, you can't have my son. And yeah, I know. I loved it. I loved her in the miniseries.
Do you guys remember, like, okay, I, of course, rewatched the movie. There's a scene where they're touring the hotel, and then this random staff woman brings in Danny, and was like, oh, he was wandering around the grounds. I was like, no, Wendy would not let him out of her sight. Like,
Right? Yeah, she's like, oh, we found him outside. Like, what the hell?
it's like, why is this rando have Danny? Like,
Absolutely.
Well, they let him take off with Halloran in both, but at least like,
but she was apprehensive.
they have an
in the
idea of
miniseries.
what's going. Yeah, they at least have an idea, but like it just, oh, he was just running around. We
found
have
him
no
like-
idea.
What?
How do you not notice that he's gone? First of all, like, come on. Yeah.
That was really
And
stupid.
they make a point of it in the series where she's like, stay where I can see you.
Yeah,
Like,
Mhm.
It's
it's
very,
very
protective
much
because of the incident. Like,
hmm
The incident.
The-
That's an
that's-
awful incident.
And the kid was delightful.
he's so cute.
The kid was really good actor.
Uh-huh.
Not if you ask
Uh-huh.
John.
Oh no.
from Little
Yeah.
Rascals,
I
right?
didn't like him. Yeah, I didn't like him in this
Was it
movie.
his
I'm like, I
teeth?
just want to.
In the miniseries,
Yeah, I just wanted to hit him with a mallet.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding. That's mean. That's a
You're
joke.
not.
And
But
yet,
no, I did
you're
not.
telling the
are
truth.
you talking about the miniseries and the movie?
Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't
The
like the kid in the
miniseries.
miniseries.
I hate the kid. in the
I'm like,
movie.
no. I know. I
The
mean, I don't
movie-
Run
like him
around,
either.
run
But
around.
I hated the movie kid.
We just don't like Danny. We like the character of Danny. Just
right,
the
it's just
acting
yeah.
choices,
I
maybe.
just don't
Right.
like Danny.
The,
Oh my
the
God.
actors.
Those poor kid actors.
Well, what's funny, Amber just said it. Like, the kid, Danny, in the miniseries is from the Little Rascals, and he does say
Uh-huh.
I just laughed so hard because I had never seen it before. He's like, just like he does in Little Rascals. I was like, no, you, because it was only
probably
a couple
told him
years
to.
after. Yes,
Exactly.
because the
They're
Little
like, that's all
Rascals,
he
Little
knew.
Rascals came out before. Because I looked it
Yep.
up. I was like, it had to have come before the miniseries, and it did. And I was like, well, that's how he got the job. And
Yep.
but
And
That
he's
was
a
his-
good actor.
That
He
was
is a
his
good actor.
addition. He's just like, No.
Do you
No.
like the kid in the miniseries, Ashley?
I think he's a good actor in terms of what he's able to emote. I don't necessarily like the way he speaks.
Oh,
You don't like the
I think he is a very good actor though, because to be able to deliver what he did, let's like we don't really get Danny in a trance-like state in the movie too much, right? He just is
no,
talking about what Tony has said and he's relaying what has happened. And then we get this weird little rad ram, and that means he's in
I
his
hated that.
trance. Yeah, and that's I mean, I assume that's supposed to imply that's when he's in his trances. But in the miniseries, we actually see what happens to Danny when he's connecting in these trances, in these
Right.
telepathic states, and the toll it takes on him, right? Because it looks like full on seizures. So for this kid at that young of an age to be able to handle those kind of scenes,
Absolutely.
that's pretty phenomenal. So I
And
definitely appreciated that.
and the last scene, when he's driving, not the last scene, but when he's driving away, he said, goodbye, Dad. I love you. It's so, I believed him. I believed him. And that actually those simple words or could in a really shitty actor would be in cringy lines or goodbye, Dad. I love you, but somehow I believed him. So he did it. He came through when it counted.
Yes,
I
I
know,
agree.
I know what you mean about the style of talking, the way his voice was.
I think that was my issue, to be honest. Yeah.
It just didn't resonate with me in the way he spoke, and I'm like,
sounds like he had
Yeah.
a
It's
cold.
yes, the entire time he did.
it, and it throws you off a little bit because you're like, is this? Am I watching what am I watching? Is this a horror? Is this a drama? Like, what is this kid doing?
What
It
does
was a
this kid do?
comedy. That's what it was. It was a comedy.
But he did do well. I mean, for what it. So here's my thing. My question for all of you: would you be open to a revisiting of a mini series for The Shining to do it
Absolutely not.
one more time?
Nope.
Okay. Well,
You're fired.
already with the nose.
Gonna
So
go
you
again.
have to see Welcome to Deary first,
Dairy.
and
Ugh.
then tell me. Yes, Dairy. Sorry, and then tell me,
Welcome to Deary. Deary.
Welcome, Deary.
Deary.
So here's why,
Tell
and
me why.
I will say, if it was just one character or like, because I feel like the miniseries was almost perfect. Albeit I didn't necessarily like the way Danny talked, and the topiaries and levitating Tony weren't my favorite. Everything else was so solid. And that cast together, like Amber said earlier, the chemistry between Rebecca and was it Steve
Steven Weber.
Weber, there we go.
Wow.
I'm mixing up shows he's been in. He was in Wings, wasn't he?
He was.
Yes, yes, he was.
He absolutely.
So Stephen Weber and Rebecca De Mornay, their
Oh,
chemistry when they're fighting, when they're romantic, when they're everything in between, I wouldn't replace that.
agreed.
And like Marty was saying, the ability for Danny to convey what he did in those very powerful, poignant moments, I wouldn't want to revisit that. I feel like they got almost close to perfection with it. And as much as cinematically the movie itself was beautiful, the only thing I could see myself changing, and this is probably like super blasphemous, is like somehow incorporating a better here's Johnny scene versus boo. And
Yeah.
can we just talk about the perfection and the actual intensity and tension built in the hedge scene in the movie? Because it's one thing to chase your kid through a hotel with a mallet and hide in rooms and behind a couch. It's another thing to be out in the elements without a coat on, about to freeze, running from your dad who's carrying gasoline and an axe. Like, there is something about the tension in that part of the film that I would have loved to seen somehow be not like shot for shot, but incorporated into the
I
miniseries.
know what you mean. I do know what you mean. So it is. I like this conversation because we have managed. I wasn't sure if we were gonna say anything positive about the movie interpretation. So somehow, as the conversation goes on, we're getting more positive movie sensibility. Man, I'm glad about that because it was nothing is written in stone and so many things. Kubrick, the great filmmaker, so he came up with some interesting visions of what a scene is supposed to be like. It's a lot of the time he missed it. But the reason, the main way, even if you say that his interpretation of the whole story was somewhat different, I'm lacking something. If we cared about those characters, we might have been willing to let certain things go in the name of transferring from a book medium to film medium. But because we didn't care about the characters, not one of them, including Scatman Crothers, somehow you got a high mountain to climb to make people care about this movie. If you don't care about any of the characters, none of them. That's the main thing that he failed in the movie, I think.
For us as a subcategory of the horror fandom, yes. However, the film does have a very huge following and fandom of people that do swear by it. So there are those that don't need to like their characters. They don't need a full complete story. They just like being in a moment of horror. They don't need the expansion or the backstory or the whys. Now, for people who really enjoy biting into a very lovely, tense built, well written story, I have words, I promise. That's not enough for us. We need characters. We need diversity in the types of characters and
Right.
the chemistry and the volatility of love, hate, and everything in between. And so for us, most of us, I assume it sounds like, based on what we're all saying, the Kubrick film isn't enough. But it has its fandom, it has its following, and I don't take that away from them. And cinematically, and tension-wise, there are some phenomenal scenes in there.
It's a great filmmaker. And
Yeah. However, in terms of actual story, the miniseries and the novel, by far, just way better, way more complete, and way more to hold on to so that you do leave wrecked, right? Because at the end of The Shining, the movie, it's like, all right, well, that left spooky. Woo. And at the end of The Shining, the miniseries, it's like, oh my God, I'm wrecked.
It's so true. Every time
My heart.
I cry every time.
Yeah, I know I said no, I wouldn't want to see anything like redone again. But would I mind if he pulled a George Lucas and did extra like special effects to the miniseries to make it a little bit better? Why not?
Just clean it
Not
up a
going to
bit.
happen, but yeah, just clean that up and make it a little bit better. Call it great.
meaning the topiary.
Yes.
And the levitating
yes.
Tony.
Yes.
Could be it.
Absolutely.
Just a skosh.
Yeah.
I'm torn because I hate when they do, they just rehash it out and we're just going to do a remake, right? And remakes are not original, but when you have the secret sauce in a movie and in the series, and today what we have in TV is I think we're in the golden age of television. We have so much money, so many good storytellers telling great stories in television that kind of bridges the gap that I think that the 90s didn't have. And I think that if we had that now, and if this was a mini series created today, I think it would just blow everything out of the water. Like, it would be super successful. It would have those tear at the heartstrings, but also just there would just be so much more. There would be the richness of everything, of the music, of everything that the like Game of Thrones. I mean, you could talk about, all of these TV shows that spend $1 million an episode kind of thing, that obviously the 90s wasn't there yet. They weren't at that point. And that's the only reason why I would say, hey, why don't we try it again? Because there is something that we could do.
I don't think that's necessary for this specific story, though, because despite the maybe, could it be more rich and more vibrant? Absolutely. However, the story itself is immaculate. You don't leave it wondering, but I wonder about that. I wonder this plot hole. I wonder that, specifically when it comes to the Torrance family. To your point, though, like with what they're doing with Welcome to Derry, maybe you could do it in the realm of The Shining. What happens to the other Shining families? Maybe, like we were discussing earlier, the Grady's. What happened to the Grady's? Was there something similar with that? And the twins, the twin girls that we didn't see in this, but they were in the movie.
Yes.
But like, expand in that universe, and yes, give it that treatment, that rich, vibrant, modern,
interesting.
reset into that, like they're doing with Welcome to Derry, but leave the Torrance story alone, because it's been told in the miniseries, and albeit it's a little older, it's still, the story-wise, was pretty darn perfect. The only thing I would change is, here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Put it back in.
Yeah, I would just be comparing it to the miniseries, just because I love it so much.
But to your point, I mean, do I think that they could have a lot of fun with the universe of the Overlook Hotel? Absolutely. They could create a whole series called The Overlook Hotel, and what they do in it. The ghosts, almost like American Horror Story, right?
Yes.
Like the ghosts in there, the Shining in there. What is the story about the lady in the bathtub? What is the story about the gangsters? And they really take the time to flesh that out, but leave the Torrances where they're at.
Yeah, leave the Torrances alone.
And Halloran has been there a long time, right? And that's
What's Halloran's story?
You could
yes.
tell.
And I think that's where they want to go. That's where the next step could be, from it.
I could
and
see
on.
that.
That would be awesome.
I would love to see, to your point, a series that does explore the Overlook Hotel and the stories, because there's so many ghosts and like spirits that have been trapped there. I'd even love to see the upper management, right? Like, what exactly is that? But in terms of the Torrance, I think that like anything from the movie or the miniseries, I would say leave the Torrance family where they're at and what they've already been shown. But definitely, yeah, explore the rest of it.
I love that idea.
Absolutely.
Who would you guys pick? If you had to pick just one expansion of the Overlook Hotel in the Shiny universe, who would you pick to focus on?
Werewolf mask guy. Like, what are you doing?
You know he's a dirty.
I agree.
That was a furry. That was a kink there.
I'm okay with going into that. Why not?
But
the werewolf mask character, the guy who was wearing the werewolf mask.
Right, that's right.
Like zero hesitation. That's my guy.
Right?
But wasn't that originally the gangster?
I think.
Isn't that?
Oh, probably. I know something weird was.
Probably.
Just picturing that one scene. It's just like.
But I'd like to know why he's wearing a werewolf mask.
He's a kinky gangster,
Let me ask you this. The lady in the bathtub, the woman who approached Jack in the party, who was engaging, but was she the lady in the bathtub?
I think so.
I would think that might be an interesting thing in her particular story, expanding her story, and what other elements, what dark elements existed for her in her life that brought her here. That would be a kind of interesting thing.
Boom. What about you guys? BJ, John, Ashley?
Oh, Halloran. Halloran 100%. Like I love that character. I think like even in just the movie itself, I was just so upset. Like out of the whole movie, like his story, I was like, damn it, like really, like. And then in the TV series, I mean, obviously he's, spoiler alert, he survives, but like, and then you watching the TV series, the It TV series, and then there's just so much there, and he knows, like when he's in the miniseries, he's talking to Danny, he's explaining it to him like he's almost a master of it, but he knows that Danny is more powerful. And for me, that was like, oh my god, this guy is like, Yoda level of, of this kind of spirituality that people need to know about.
But
And yeah.
I didn't read Doctor Sleep, and I have it, but I need to read it, right?
I
And
haven't read it, but I did see the movie, and I suggest that we do a podcast on that with these two.
Yeah, it's a continuation of Danny's story.
Yeah,
you have Halloran there, right?
I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
I don't
He might be dead
He's
by
just
now.
he's just like I think he's at a spirit level at that point.
But in the miniseries, at least we know that they're still together because he shows up at the graduation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It is Derwent who is the one that originally, when he takes off the mask, it's Derwent that takes off the mask.
Okay.
Told you. Daryl does what Daryl wants.
And he's the owner of the Overlook Hotel. So, but it's funny because he puts it on other people and he's like, get on your knees. Woof, woof, woof.
Like, Derwent?
He was spanking one at some point, wasn't he, in the ballroom? Like the camera pans around and he's like spanking the guy.
Yeah.
Oh, but you dirty.
Uh-huh.
That's a different movie, but
So
it's a different genre.
That's
but I'm
okay.
here
We
for
can go
it.
there.
horror erotica is thing. Marty, I was wrong. The woman in the bathtub is actually a separate character than the woman who seduces him in the bathroom.
I
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
sure.
in the ballroom.
Ah.
Yeah.
For each of you, who was the scarier Jack?
The miniseries, because Jack was so over the top, he was comical, which took away from his scariness to me.
Mm-hmm.
He became almost a clownish kind of
Mhm.
thing. Entertaining is all get out, entertaining. Jack Nicholson, a great actor, very funny. But this Jack, and the fact that he's going in and out, the fact that his scariness was kind of wasn't like hammering you over the head. All of a sudden, he's getting kind of getting scary, getting obnoxious. All of a sudden, then the craziness winning out, and then it disappeared for a while. All of a sudden, he's himself again. The struggle, like you said before,
Exactly.
makes it scarier, I
That's
think.
what I think too.
Yeah, Steven Weber's possession and ultimate fall from like everything he was trying, his sobriety, his connection to his family and being a better dad. It was such a massive fall. Like I said at the beginning, you went from, regular asshole to possessed asshole. So there really wasn't much of a decline. It wasn't as
Mm-mm.
much of a fall. But with like Steven Weber, that was a big fall.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a straight fall. Like Marty said, it's an oscillation. He is fighting like hell on this possession. That's funny.
Yeah.
But it's like it's back and forth and in and out until it finally takes over. I mean, you see it in his features and the way he
Oof.
acts and snaps in and out. And also, he doesn't know what he's doing, right? He doesn't remember that he's the one that destroyed the CB radio. He doesn't realize he's the one that destroyed the snowmobile.
Mm.
It's happening during those moments of possession. And then they eventually take all the way over. And
Huge
so it's a bigger
stakes,
fall.
right?
Yeah, I think he was way more compelling and therefore more terrifying.
I hated that in the scene with Ullman in the movie, he was sitting there in the office, and the camera came the slow pan forward up on the Jack Nicholson's face, and you see he's already crazy.
He's crazy the
I
whole
agree.
time.
Well,
He was
yeah.
just
He's already
creepy.
crazy.
Yeah, he was creepy in the beginning, and just Nicholson.
Why?
Some of his facial expressions were okay, and some of the craziness was all right. But Steven Weber, again, like everybody else has been saying, just was more believable and more heartbreaking to
Heartbreaking
see
is the perfect
all of that
word.
going.
So
Yeah.
to add on to that, there was one thing about Steven Weber, that one scene in particular that I was like, oh shit, like he has, like, it's not just him switching to crazy, like he's still kind of there, is when Danny gets injured, and then it's like a question is, was it his wife's? Was it Wendy? Well, you don't like it when you are, accused of hurting your son, do you?
That's
Right.
right.
It was like this back and forth, and it was like, yeah, it's not just me. Like, I didn't do anything to him. You obviously didn't do anything to it, but it's not fun, is it? It's not fun to think that you're the parent that hurts your child. Right.
Constantly
And
being accused.
right. And he owned it, and he let Wendy know. And that's not something that you would see in the movie. So
Yeah,
gives him a little bit more
very good point.
agency. So
Brilliant observation.
Brilliant.
What about you, Amber?
Oh, same. I think Steven Weber is just. I just can't get over his bloody face, man. That is one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. I'm just like, bro.
Honestly, that is brilliant, because that is the most inexpensive way that you can show possession, right? You don't have to go with the prosthetics and the eyes and everything. It's just, let's just drip some blood down his face and let him act the rest, because he can act through it and with it.
It's pretty simple, but man, damn, he's scary.
That's the way they did. Interestingly enough, it takes me back to Spencer Tracy in Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Mhm.
And they chose, because the John Barrymore version is a lot of prosthetic, and he became almost an animal. And Spencer Tracy, they did none of that. A little bit under the eyes to get the sockets a little bit deep set eye sockets, but that's pretty much it. Everything was about the acting with Spencer Tracy playing Mr. Hyde.
Which is terrifying. Just let him act. Just let him.
Right.
Well, and I think Jack Nicholson is a very solid, wonderful actor. However, his face does him a disservice, especially in a role like this, because let's be honest, Jack Nicholson has a face that looks like he is just creepy and crazy. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's his face, and that's why he
He
gets
does,
so well
yeah.
cast in movies like Wolf and The Shining and stuff. But I feel like they used that almost as like you got name recognition, but also like, oh, we don't have to do much because he already looks scary. And it's like, oh, but then there's nothing to really counter that with. He can't look soft. He can't go back and forth between loving husband, loving dad, and this, because he always looks crazy.
Also, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, that.
Great.
Like he doesn't do
Mhm.
soft, and that's okay. Not everyone does. But when you have a character who is supposed to be struggling with sobriety and staying connected to his family and loving his wife and his son and everything in between, you do need someone who can translate soft, so that when they do fall and that possession is clear.
Terrifying.
I agree. I didn't think Nicholson's character loved his wife at all.
Oh,
That-
or Danny.
Not even a little. They're like, how's your wife and kid gonna do moving here? They'll be fine.
He had a better connection with the bartender.
Oh my gosh, we're almost 2 hours in, guys. This is amazing.
I'm just so glad we're all on the same page and you guys like love it just as much as I do. Thank
Oh,
God.
absolutely.
Yeah, totally.
I just want to repeat, I am so appreciative that you suggested this as a topic, Amber.
Thanks, baby.
Because
Yes.
one, I didn't know this series
Yay.
existed, and two, it's just I would have never watched it without someone saying, let's do an episode on it. But that's happened before
Mhm.
with Penny Dreadful, cough, cough, Marty. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
watched it unless someone
Ugh.
said, let's do an episode on it. And then I'm consuming it, and it's like, I am so glad I did this. So this is awesome. I love this.
I
I feel like
love
you
it.
two need to come back for another Stephen King.
Yes, please.
I love the fact that I crammed in the miniseries because I had to do this show.
I'm so glad you did. And
I know
love
I am too. Ashley did too, I think.
Yeah, I totally binge watched.
And I love it. I'm happy you guys brought this up because I love like nostalgia. And for me, for those of us that are, you know, in our 40s, the 90s were a very big time for us, for at least for me, and just the nostalgia of it, but also watching something new that's connected to horror.
That's awesome.
It's great. Yeah. Like that was really fun for me. I really appreciate that this was, you know, a topic for this week. So
Okay, friends, do we have any final thoughts on Stephen King's The Shining, whether it be the novel, TV series, movie, or all in between?
Just love it. The Shining, the book, is one of the only books that's ever scared me, and it was the bathtub scene for some reason, even though I knew exactly what was going to happen. No, I'm so glad you guys love the miniseries. It's just, like you said, Ashley, I think it's pretty darn perfect, and their chemistry is unreal.
I am so grateful for Stephen King's The Shining because not only did it open up a love story with a writer that I have to this very day, but not only did it open up the horror literary part of horror to me. I was always a horror movie fan, but I never got connected with literary horror until Stephen King is expanding because of his um, Dance Macabre, going over all of the writers and books that he talked about there, and actually The Shining with the beginning of me becoming a voracious reader after the age of 30. I would never that kind of a reader, but so The Shining started me off on, to this very day being a voracious reader. So I'm very grateful to this book for all of those reasons.
Yay. BJ?
no, I'm just excited for the next one. I love these conversations. I love the different perspectives. I love that everybody brings something different and unique to the table, even though we've all watched the same thing, right? It just gets the mind going, and I think that's just so much fun. That's the fun of it, right? It's almost a campfire story for something that we just all love and we want to keep consuming, and it doesn't seem like the entertainment industry is slowing down when it comes to horror, and that makes me happy.
Thank
So,
goodness.
Me too.
John?
I'm just thankful for Marty and Amber for coming on. It's always fun when Marty comes on and first time meeting Amber. So
We love Josh Amber.
Well, thank you. It was an honor. I love this.
All right, Amber, Marty, do we have anything we'd like to shout out to before we close the episode up? Any projects or anything?
I'm working on a documentary of my son Matthew Grabstein, which I would do more story. He's found an autistic young man who with autism, considered nonverbal, who's now found his voice and communication using a spelling board, and he now can completely communicate. And we never knew he had that ability. He's 24 years old.
I love that. Yay. Please keep us up to date on that. We would love
Absolutely, my dear.
that.
yes, I love it.
I could call you my dear also, BJ. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys, all of you.
So glad that you're
Beautiful
here, Marty.
people.
All right, BJ Segura. Do you want to bring us home?
absolutely. Again, Marty, Amber, like I love that you both came on and were able to just bring the fun, bring the energy, bring the perspective, bring the smarts, bring it all, right? Like, and it's just so much fun to talk to you guys and to John and to Ashley and I know our listeners are going to have an opinion about this episode. You know, there's going to be some diehards for the movie, but you know what? I think we convinced a few people that they need to at least give the miniseries a watch. So, with that being
Agreed.
said, thank you all for tuning in to this episode of 3Haunted Podcast with your hosts. I'm BJ Segura.
I am Ashley Lunar Goddess.
I'm John Thomas.
If you have any questions, comments, or episode suggestions, please feel free to email us at 3hauntedpodcast@gmail.com. If you haven't done so already, please like, follow, and subscribe to all our social media. You don't want to miss our amazing guests like Amber and Marty.
No, you don't. And also, if you haven't done so already, please check out 300podcast.com, where you'll find all of our past and current season episodes, as well as guest information and all kinds of awesome merch.
What do I do? What do I do?
Love it.
Until next time.